Hello everyone. Today's video is about nutrient deficiencies possibly causing air hunger. Just before jumping into the video, if you don't mind taking a quick second to please like, share, subscribe, and or post a quick comment on the video, I'd really appreciate it. So thanks in advance for taking a second to do that. And as per usual, nothing I'm saying should be construed as medical advice. This is for informational purposes only. If you need medical advice, please talk to your healthcare provider to get that advice. So someone asked this question on one of my other videos. It says, could amino acid deficiency cause morning air hunger? I have fibromyalgia and gut problems, feel I can't breathe well for hours every day in the morning, eating late, crave sugary foods, rash on neck, flare-ups, gas, fatigue, dry eyes, nose, skin. Ugh. That's direct quote, UGH. Ugh. Yeah, and ugh, indeed. Like, man, oh man, that's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm sorry to hear about these health issues. I hope you find some good solutions to these health issues ASAP. So around the actual question is about amino acid deficiencies causing air hunger. I'm not aware of amino acid deficiencies specifically leading to air hunger. I mean, technically, like if a person's really protein deficient, where amino acids are building blocks of protein molecules, if a person was really protein deficient, maybe they couldn't make enough of the peptides that are required to make hemoglobin, therefore can't transmit oxygen to tissues, therefore, that could cause, a shortness of breath or air hunger type presentation. So that could happen, but that, to my knowledge, wouldn't be specifically related to, X, Y, or Z specific amino acid deficiency. It'd be more of just a global protein deficiency, and you'd have to be pretty low in protein intake for that type of thing to happen, but that is possible. So I guess the short answer is maybe an amino acid deficiency could cause air hunger. And it's definitely something, worth having on one's radar. When it comes to air hunger, more often than not, clinically, when we're in the world of complex chronic illnesses, usually the first thing that would spring to mind would be Babesia, just where that co-infection of Lyme can cause air hunger, but it could certainly be due to other things. One of the other things I wanted to mention when posting this video is that I've had a number of patients over the years where their air hunger symptoms do quite a lot better when they start taking N-acetylcysteine, also known as NAC. N-acetylcysteine is a modified amino acid, so a modified form of the amino acid cysteine. It has an acetylated group on it at the N location, so hence N-acetylcysteine. And N-acetylcysteine is something where I found it to be, it's kind of like my go-to tonic, if you will, for the lungs. So if a person's having a cough that's persisting after a upper respiratory tract infection, whether it's a cold or a flu or some other upper respiratory virus, or if a patient's just say they've been diagnosed with COPD and they're having breathing issues related to that, or if a patient just says, I'm just feel like my lungs, I have air hunger essentially. They'll oftentimes use different language. They don't necessarily use the term air hunger, but they're describing air hunger, feel like I just can't get quite enough oxygen in my lungs. I've found that NAC has been helpful in a lot of those patients. So, whether we can actually say it's a deficiency in that case, I don't know that that's the case. What I've always understood to be the case is that in those cases, how many times can I say the word case in one sentence? What I understand to be the underlying mechanism or issue in those folks who are dealing with say a post-infection cough or COPD or whatever it happens to be with bothering their lungs in that kind of category, if you will. My understanding is that it's related to more of an antioxidant deficiency in the lungs, specifically glutathione, and that when we take NAC as a precursor to glutathione, we generate more of that glutathione in the lungs. And so that's kind of the mechanism I've always sort of attributed the NAC to helping with. With that being said, I suppose that it is possible that a person might have a deficiency in cysteine. That is something that does come up sometimes, but I haven't really kind of viewed it in that way. It's more of a just roundabout way to get more glutathione in a person's system. With that being said, it is of interest. I've posted other videos about NAC and contrasting it to glutathione, and I've said in those videos, as I'll say again now, NAC and glutathione tend to be better at certain things than the other. They kind of each have their place, and as I have said in past videos, and again, we'll say it now, I've found that for lung issues, NAC does tend to work a lot better, and it's always been a little counterintuitive to me that it would be better because glutathione, like liposomal glutathione supplements, seem to be quite a lot better at actually boosting up glutathione in the body in general. So why wouldn't that be true in the lungs? And maybe it is that there's a cysteine deficiency and the NAC is helping to correct that deficiency. Just doesn't really make sense to me why there would be a cysteine deficiency necessarily in those particular cases. So as per usual, usual, when it comes to the fascinating realm of science and medicine being a branch of science, there's usually, well, there are always markedly more questions than there are answers, certainly markedly more questions than there are definitive answers. So we just do our best to piece things together and give folks the best advice that we can. But in my extensive experience now, I think it's pretty extensive. I've been prescribing NAC ever since my first year of my 15 years in practice now. It tends to be really, really helpful for the lungs. But of course, we always want to find, what's the actual root cause that's going on. In some cases, it seems to just be an aftermath from an upper respiratory tract infection. Sometimes it's something like babesiosis, really anything that might interfere with oxygen delivery to tissues, anything that might stand in the way of hemoglobin working properly. So an iron deficiency would be a really important thing to rule out. In the case of air hunger, anything that's interfering with the synthesis of the hemoglobin. I mean, when it comes to heme synthesis, that's kind of another whole kettle of fish. Like, some folks suffer from something called secondary porphyrias, which is essentially an issue with heme metabolism. So it could be, a general protein deficiency, could be an issue with heme metabolism in rare cases. I think secondary porphyrias are quite rare. Some clinicians out there might disagree with that statement, but I feel like I have not seen many of them in practice, but I have seen some, and they're a thing, just not a very common thing. Or it could be iron deficiency or babesiosis or other things that might be going on. So anyways, I will leave it there. I think I've answered the question, kind of answered it as thoroughly as I possibly can. If anybody has any questions or comments on this topic or anything else, just please post in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer as soon as I can.